To Minnesota is what's called a non-predictor. In other words, I had to predict.
Ric Flair is more than just a wrestling legend. He's an icon whose name echoes through the halls of sports entertainment history. Known as the Nature Boy, Flair built a career on charisma, drama, and showmanship, creating a legacy few can match. But with that legendary status came a fierce pride and a strong grip on what wrestling should be. As the business evolved, so did the wrestlers who challenged the old guard, bringing fresh styles, new attitudes, and different philosophies to the ring. Flair's relationships with several top wrestlers, from the rebellious Cody Rhodes to the technically gifted Bret Hart, the towering Big Show, the high-flying Rey Mysterio Jr., and the Olympic hero Kurt Angle, were often marked by tension. These clashes weren't just about personalities, they symbolized a bigger story. The struggle between tradition and change, experience and innovation. Flair represented the classic wrestling era, with its flair, drama, and legacy, while these wrestlers pushed boundaries in their own ways, reshaping the sport for a new generation. Understanding these tensions gives us a window into wrestling's ever-changing landscape, a world where respect and rivalry, old and new, constantly collide. It's a tale of egos, evolution, and the fight to define what wrestling really means. 1. Cody Rhodes, age 40. The modern rebel who challenged tradition. Cody Rhodes is a fascinating figure in today's wrestling world, carrying not only the name, but also the legacy of his father, Dusty Rhodes, a legend who left an indelible mark on the sport. But unlike simply walking in his father's footsteps, Cody has forged his own path, one defined by a desire to shake up the wrestling world and push it forward. He's never been content with the status quo, instead championing change, authenticity, and a more nuanced form of storytelling that connects deeply with modern audiences. This desire for innovation is where Cody's story intersects with Ric Flair's, often in tension. Flair, known as the Nature Boy, is the embodiment of an earlier wrestling era, full of larger-than-life characters, dramatic promos, and a strong focus on legacy and respect. Flair helped shape professional wrestling's blueprint, creating a theatrical world where charisma and showmanship were king. To many, he represents tradition itself. But Cody sees wrestling differently. He views it as an evolving art, one that should embrace new ideas rather than hold too tightly to old ones. His work with AEW, All Elite Wrestling, which he helped build from the ground up, is a testament to that vision. AEW promotes creative freedom, fresh storytelling, and opportunities for talent that sometimes feel limited in more traditional organizations like WWE. This willingness to challenge established norms is something that reportedly didn't sit well with Flair, who was protective of wrestling's classic values. The friction between Cody and Flair isn't rooted in personal animosity. Rather, it's a collision of philosophies. Flair, steeped in decades of tradition, seemed hesitant, or even resistant, to embrace the shifts Cody and others represent. Cody, meanwhile, wasn't trying to disrespect the past, but rather to make wrestling more relevant, exciting, and dynamic for today's fans. Their relationship perfectly illustrates wrestling's ongoing struggle between honoring its rich history and adapting to the tastes and values of new generations. It's a battle that has played out time and again in wrestling's long history, and Cody and Flair's dynamic is one of the most vivid examples of how the sport continues to balance respect for tradition with the need for evolution. 2. Bret Hart, age 68. The technical mastermind who disagreed with Flair's flash. Bret Hart and Ric Flair represent two sides of a fascinating coin in professional wrestling. While Cody Rhodes and Flair's tension was about generations, Bret's relationship with Flair was more about a fundamental clash of wrestling philosophies and styles. Bret, the Hitman Hart, is widely regarded as one of the greatest technical wrestlers in history, known for his precision, realism, and serious approach to the sport. For Bret, wrestling wasn't just about entertaining a crowd, it was a craft, a form of storytelling built on athleticism and technique. Ric Flair, by contrast, was the embodiment of flamboyance. Nicknamed the Nature Boy, Flair's style was larger than life. He thrived on charisma, drama, and theatrical storytelling. His promos were legendary, his presence magnetic, and his ability to captivate audiences undeniable. Flair's wrestling was as much about spectacle as it was about skill. This fundamental difference in approach created a backstage tension between the two. Bret often saw Flair's style as overly flashy, sometimes prioritizing entertainment over the pure wrestling craft. To Bret, wrestling needed to be rooted in realism and athletic excellence. Flair, meanwhile, felt Bret's style was too serious and lacked the it factor that turns a wrestling match into a memorable show. Despite these clashes, the tension wasn't rooted in personal dislike. Both men respected each other's talents and contributions to wrestling. Yet, their differing views rarely allowed them to see eye to eye on what wrestling should be. Was it an art form focused on technical mastery, or a grand theatrical performance designed to captivate and entertain? This question defined their backstage relationship as much as it did their in-ring work. Their rivalry highlights one of wrestling's oldest debates, the balance between sport and spectacle. Bret Hart and Ric Flair, through their contrasting styles and philosophies, helped shape wrestling's evolution in their own ways. The uneasy tension between them was less about animosity and more about two legends interpreting the meaning of wrestling in vastly different but equally impactful ways. 3. Big Show, age 53. The giant who didn't fit the Flair mold. Big Show is impossible to miss. Standing 7 feet tall and weighing over 400 pounds, he's one of the most physically imposing figures in wrestling history. His size alone makes him a natural force in the ring, capable of dominating opponents with sheer power. But when it came to his relationship with Ric Flair, things were more complicated than just strength and stature. Ric Flair's style of wrestling wasn't just about being big or strong, it was deeply rooted in psychology, pacing, and storytelling through every move. Flair demanded a high level of craft from those he worked with, an understanding of the art behind wrestling, where every gesture and moment in the ring serves to tell a story and build drama. While Big Show was undeniably impressive physically, Flair reportedly felt that Big Show didn't always fully embrace or appreciate these finer nuances. Backstage, the tension between them seemed to come down to attitude and wrestling philosophy. Flair wanted wrestlers who bought fully into his vision, wrestling as a balance of athleticism and theatrical drama, with technical skill and psychology front and center. Big Show, known for his strong personality, sometimes pushed back against these expectations, showing reluctance to fit neatly into the molds Flair valued. Their disagreements were less about personal dislike and more about different ideas of what wrestling should be. Naturally, when two strong egos meet in such a competitive environment, clashes happen. Big Show's sheer size and status gave him a kind of influence that sometimes conflicted with Flair's fiercely protective stance over the traditional wrestling craft. In many ways, Big Show and Ric Flair symbolize two very different legends in wrestling. Flair representing the theatrical and strategic side, while Big Show represents raw power and presence. Their uneasy relationship offers a glimpse into how diverse talents in wrestling can sometimes struggle to align, revealing the complexity behind the scenes of this larger-than-life sport. 4. Rey Mysterio Jr., age 50. The high flyer who challenged the traditional Rey Mysterio Jr. is one of the most exciting and innovative wrestlers the sport has ever seen. When he first appeared on the scene, his lightning-fast, high-flying style changed what fans expected from wrestling matches. Rey wasn't just about grappling and technical moves. He brought a spectacle to the ring with acrobatics and speed that pushed wrestling into new territory. Fans loved it, but not everyone behind the scenes was as enthusiastic. Ric Flair, a legend from a very different era, was notably skeptical. Flair comes from a wrestling world that values storytelling, drama, and the psychological chess match inside the ring. His matches were carefully paced stories filled with emotion and character work, where every move had meaning beyond just the physical. Rey's style, by contrast, was almost like a different language, quick, flashy, and awe-inspiring, but sometimes seen by traditionalists as lacking the deeper storytelling Flair prized. This difference wasn't just a casual debate, it revealed a real generational divide in wrestling philosophy. Flair, the veteran and self-proclaimed guardian of wrestling's legacy, saw himself protecting a craft built on classic characters and timeless storytelling. Rey represented the future, a more dynamic, visually stunning approach aimed at capturing the attention of new audiences, especially younger fans hungry for something fast and thrilling. The tension between them wasn't about personal dislike, but about what wrestling should be. Flair wanted to preserve the artistry and legacy he helped build, while Rey pushed to expand the sport's boundaries and redefine its possibilities. Their dynamic reflected a broader wrestling world, wrestling itself with change, trying to find a balance between honoring tradition and embracing innovation. In many ways, Rey's high-flying style opened doors for countless wrestlers who came after him. Even if it ruffled some feathers, including Flair's, it helped evolve wrestling into a sport that's as much about spectacle as it is about story. Their backstage tension tells the story of wrestling's ongoing struggle to grow while staying true to its roots. 5. Kurt Angle, age 56, the Olympic hero who outshined Flair's era. Kurt Angle's entry into professional wrestling was nothing short of revolutionary. As an Olympic gold medalist from the 1996 Atlanta Games, Angle brought a level of legitimacy and technical skill that wrestling hadn't seen in a long time. His athletic background gave him instant credibility, but what truly set him apart was his blend of that skill with undeniable charisma and showmanship. He wasn't just a great athlete, he was a star who could connect deeply with fans both inside and outside the ring. But Angle's meteoric rise wasn't without its challenges, especially within wrestling's established hierarchy. Ric Flair, one of the most respected and influential figures in wrestling history, had spent decades building his legacy and shaping the industry. Naturally, the arrival of a new star who quickly climbed to the top was seen as a potential threat to that order. Flair's era, the flamboyant, promo-heavy Nature Boy days, was slowly giving way to a new generation, and Kurt Angle was at the forefront of that shift. While Flair admired Angle's undeniable talent and recognized his unique mix of technical mastery and raw charisma, there was a subtle tension between the two. Flair, protective of his legacy and the old-school values he embodied, reportedly found himself frustrated as Angle's star power seemed to eclipse some of the contributions of the wrestling veterans. For Flair, it wasn't about jealousy, it was about preserving the respect and influence he had worked so hard to earn. Angle's style was a perfect storm. He could wrestle with precision and intensity, while also delivering promos that felt authentic and emotionally charged. This made him a fan favorite and a consistent main eventer, able to carry a show with both athleticism and storytelling. Yet, his rise highlighted a natural wrestling truth. The industry is always evolving. and each generation must find its place alongside the last. Despite their backstage friction, there was genuine respect between Angle and Flair. Angle has often spoken highly of Flair's contributions and impact on the sport, while Flair acknowledged Angle's exceptional skills and star quality. Their relationship, with all its complexities, represents wrestling's ongoing balancing act between honoring the past and embracing the future. It's a story as old as wrestling itself, where legends pave the way, but new heroes rise to carry the torch forward. Ric Flair's legacy, a timeless clash of tradition and change. Ric Flair's legacy in professional wrestling is both monumental and complex. He stands as one of the all-time greats, a figure whose influence shaped not only how wrestling looks and feels, but also how it is remembered by fans and peers alike. From his unforgettable charisma and iconic promos to his masterful ability to tell compelling stories inside the ring, Flair helped define an entire era of wrestling. Yet, despite his legendary status, his journey wasn't without friction. His well-documented tensions with wrestlers like Cody Rhodes, Bret Hart, Big Show, Rey Mysterio Jr., and Kurt Angle reveal a deeper narrative, one that reflects wrestling's ongoing struggle to balance deep-rooted tradition with inevitable evolution. At the core of these rivalries lies a classic clash of eras and philosophies. Flair was the embodiment of the old-school wrestling world, where larger-than-life characters, dramatic storytelling, and emotional pacing were the foundation. He was fiercely protective of the legacy and principles that built wrestling into a cultural phenomenon with worldwide appeal. In contrast, many of the wrestlers he often clashed with symbolized change, whether through modern storytelling approaches, innovative wrestling styles, technical mastery, or rapid rises that challenged the dominance of the old guard. Flair's sometimes resistant attitude toward these shifts caused undeniable tension backstage, but it also highlighted a necessary and healthy struggle within the wrestling industry. As new stars like Cody Rhodes and Kurt Angle pushed boundaries and redefined what wrestling could be, Flair's efforts to uphold tradition underscored the ongoing challenge of honoring the past while embracing progress. This tension is not unique to wrestling. It's a reflection of any evolving art form where the old guard must make room for fresh perspectives. Ultimately, Ric Flair's disagreements with these wrestlers are about more than just personal egos or clashes of personality. They tell the larger story of wrestling's constant evolution. Wrestling is a living, breathing sport and entertainment form, forever balancing respect for its history with the excitement of reinvention. Flair's legacy, therefore, isn't solely measured by his championship wins or legendary persona. It's equally found in the spirited debates and tensions that have driven wrestling forward through decades. Whether celebrated or challenged by his peers, Ric Flair remains a pivotal figure whose influence has helped shape wrestling into the dynamic, unpredictable world it is today. A world where legends are born, challenged, and forever redefined. Stay informed. Stay updated. Hit that subscribe button